We have an all-hazard threat for the potential for significant severe weather, including significant hail, significant tornado potential, and the potential for strong, significant 75 plus mile per hour damaging wind gusts. We are also going to be breaking down a cold blast that will rush out of Canada, bringing the potential for much below average temperatures and snow. I have all that information for you right here on this forecast, and let's first start out by breaking down the severe weather threat we have for tonight. Here you can see we have a mushroom-shaped marginal risk in portions like the central and northern plains and the Midwest here. And we also have a slight risk area. Ooh, we just got a couple quarter-size hail reports on here already. And we also have a potential half-dollar size hail right there as well. So going here, you can see we have a slight risk area. We also have an enhanced risk area right there. And we are also starting to see some thunderstorms popping up here with the models here. Starting to have some good organized cells starting to go here in portions west of Kansas City here. And as a matter of fact, I just checked live radar. There are a couple severe thunderstorm warnings out for these regions right here. 60 miles per hour. One had 70 marked on it. So keep your eyes out for that as we go into Kansas City tonight. And then as we time out these thunderstorms for you here, you can see with the HRRR model, we're going to be watching these turn into a big cluster as we go into overnight here. This could potentially limit the severe threat a little bit. This is just going to be a mess of just generalized thunderstorms, and some of these might have the potential for some pretty large hail as we go into the overnight hours here. 1 a.m. we're going to start seeing more development here. Again, this is mainly just going to be heavy rain, maybe with some pockets of some small hail. But as we go into 1, 2 a.m. here, and then eventually into the work hours here, 3, 4 a.m. here, you can see we're starting to see a squall line trying to break out here in portions of Kansas City as we go into that time frame. We're also watching the marginal risk area. And you're probably noticing, speaking of the marginal risk area, that there are no thunderstorms down here in portions of northern Texas and central Oklahoma. Why is that? Well, we likely will see rounds of clouds in this region, all right? So this will likely limit the severe weather in this region tonight, and we are likely not going to see severe thunderstorms in this region. And the Storm Prediction Center probably will do that and trim that back on their next update. So portions of Dallas and Oklahoma City, you do not have to worry about tonight's outlook. However, you do have to worry about tomorrow's threat. And breaking down the thunderstorms for tomorrow's big, significant, all-hazard threat here. This is it. And as you can see, we're likely going to be watching first this squall line that will likely move into portions of Missouri and Illinois. This will likely pack some pretty good damaging wind gusts in there of 60, 70, perhaps 80 miles per hour winds in some areas here. And as we go into the late morning hours, we're going to begin to start seeing more cells from the Gulf of Mexico start to surge northward, while at the same time we'll likely have this piece of energy, and that will likely allow that to, this model actually has it a little more less intense in the south than it did before. Maybe it'll fire a bit later. There we go. We're going to start to see storms fire here around 1, 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Perhaps as a squall line trying to propagate east into Ohio here. That could potentially produce some gusty winds, maybe some small hail at times. Definitely heavy rain and a lot of lightning could be possible out of these. So Ohio, Indiana, please watch out for that as we go into that time frame. And significant damaging winds are certainly possible with this back in Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas as we go into that time frame. Now we're going to continue this model run here. And by the time we're getting into 2, 3 p.m. hour here, we've got another hail report in Topeka here. Man, this storm is definitely putting down some good hail, guys. But we'll look at that off screen here. I looked at that off screen. You can look at it on the Radar Omega app. It's for $8 on the App Store. But anyways, you can also look at generalized weather apps as well. But anyways, taking a look at the squall line right here, we're likely going to see it propagate eastward again into the Ohio area here. Damaging winds, very, 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 very probable with that. And then we're going to begin to start watching the enhanced risk area as we go past 2 p.m. CDT. And then we're likely going to see the squall line begin to propagate further east as well. Again, heavy rain, lightning, thunder is guaranteed with this. Damaging winds is also a likelihood. Not as likely as heavy rain, though. So, Ohio, you might be out of the mix with this one. But down here in Oklahoma and portions of Arkansas and Missouri, you are not out of the woods in this one, for sure not. And then as we go into this time frame, in a big way, you're not out of the woods with this. And then here you can see that we're likely going to start seeing these like big supercell clusters developing here. And this will begin our significant tornado potential here as we go into that time frame. And then we're going to continue this run here, and look at this. We have the moist boundary over the area. Over a lot of this area, we have the moist boundary. So this will allow for storms to continue to fire here. And soon the cold front will likely begin to start pushing things off towards the east. And this will likely allow for another round of thunderstorms in this region right here. Potentially packing large to very large hail and the potential for a couple tornadoes as well. The damaging wind threat doesn't start until we go into early morning on Friday here. And the most important threat with this is the tornado threat, because, again, we could see numerous tornadoes, and one of those or two of those could be on the strong side. Maybe F2, F3, maybe even F4, heaven forbid, if we get that much rotation in one of those storms, is definitely a possibility. So have your tornado action plan just in case a tornado warning were to cross your area in portions of the enhanced risk and slight risk areas, mainly on the southern end of it. And as we continue to time out these thunderstorms for you, you can see this is mainly a damaging wind as we go into early tomorrow morning here. But a squall line is knocking on your doorstep in portions of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and it's also knocking on the door of Nashville. And we're also talking about portions of Memphis as well. So if that squall line is knocking on your door at any time you're getting up ready for work, keep your eye on the radar, because these storms could potentially pack very strong winds and very heavy rain. So that could potentially blow into cars, and that could potentially result in some crashes because of how wet the roads are. And there is, as a matter of fact, a flood risk down here. So keep your eyes on that as we go into Friday morning here. And then as we continue this, that squall line will continue to propagate southward, becoming less and less of a threat, thankfully. But then we're going to begin to start watching the Gulf of Mexico here. And that will allow for a marginal risk area to be interpreted for Friday afternoon from that next round of thunderstorms that we're likely going to get here. Dallas is in the mix with this one, so keep your eyes on that if you live in Dallas, Texas, as we go into that time frame of Friday morning here. And then as we go, my friends, into about, let's say, 1 p.m. CDT on Friday here, we're still watching the squall line. This is likely going to be mainly heavy rain. As we go into that time frame, a lot of the convection will be to your west if you live in portions of Georgia. So this will likely just be some heavy rain for you, and maybe some gusty winds at times. Don't forget the ponding of the lower roadways as well. And then as we go into this time frame, we're going to begin to start watching this thing really come together here. And this could potentially turn into a rain event, not a severe weather event. So we're going to monitor that as we go into Friday afternoon. But this definitely looks like it has a lot of convection with it. Does this rain limit the severe potential? That's what I was just talking about. We could potentially have a downgrade to our severe weather on Friday, and tomorrow's is definitely not going to be downgraded that much, because we already have a few severe thunderstorms up here that will likely fire in the next couple hours here and more. So large hail is definitely going to be reported here in a couple hours very shortly. We just got another hail report just now here. Let's go in and see it, because we're seeing a lot here. 8:24 p.m. or 7:24 p.m. CDT here. You can see the magnitude is 1.25 inches. I believe that is, I can't be too sure. But you can see that was in Cole County in St. Martins, Missouri here. And that storm will probably propagate to your east, so western Illinois, be on guard for that next severe thunderstorm warning there. But anyways, talking about the threat for tonight, I was talking about storms are already firing. You can see those threats right there. But we also have to see what the second round does. Does it fire, or do we have a cap on the atmosphere? Alright, so now that we're done talking about the severe weather, and I just want to point out one more time, have multiple ways of receiving alerts because it could potentially turn into some sort of tornado or severe weather outbreak. Definitely is looking that way now, and it's definitely looking like it's going to shape up that way, hence the severe storms that are already firing in portions of Kansas and Missouri. But now let's move on to the cold blast we are anticipating as we go into this weekend. And you can see there's that energy. We're basically looking at some warm air out ahead of this cold front that is allowing for that severe threat to happen in these areas right there. So let's continue this time frame as we go into the late day hours tomorrow. Here you can see, look at this trough, all right? Look at this coming out of Canada. I'm not going to talk about the severe weather anymore, but just look at this cutoff low. And that's likely going to bring much below average temperatures down into portions like Utah, getting into the high plains, and even portions of the Midwest. So behind this cold front, my friends, is going to keep areas like portions of that area pretty cold. It's not the strongest cold front we've seen, but it will turn our temperatures from like the 80s in the Central Plains to like the 40s. So that is exactly why we have a big threat for all hazards throughout the next couple days as we go into that time frame. But as we go into this time frame, look at this piece of energy coming out of Canada here. This is coming along the jet stream here, and this will likely allow for a low pressure system to also come out of Canada here. And by the time we're getting into Saturday morning here, we're talking about a cold blast for much of the Great Lakes region and portions of the Northeast. So it will be below average for temperatures. Then as we go into Monday, this is when things will kick into full gear. With the cold blast here, you can see this piece of energy coming out of Canada. This will likely allow much below average temperatures to come out of Canada, and warm, moist air, warm, dry air, I should say, to surge northward over portions of the West Coast. So we're likely going to be seeing some warm air, some above average temperatures. That is called a positive PNA, where you have the ridge on the West Coast and troughing on the East Coast. So this is exactly what we're seeing here. A big weather pattern change indeed. And there could definitely, most definitely, perhaps be snow in some of these regions. I don't know where, so don't ask me where yet, because we'll break that down in a little bit. But right now, it definitely looks like models are targeting the Great Lakes region and portions of the Northeast. But that could change in a matter of days leading up into next week. But as we go into this time frame, good news, it doesn't look like that cold blast will last for long. It looks like by the time we're getting into the 21st, 22nd time frame, we're likely going to see another warm-up across much of the United States here, and then we're likely going to be watching yet another cold front moving out of Canada here. This is one to watch, but look at this big area of the Pacific jet rolling, just roaring in here. And we're going to be watching if the polar jet can meet that right there. That could potentially stir up a winter storm for this region right here. But we're going to have to watch trends because this is unfortunately 200 some plus hours out. So we're going to have to watch maybe severe weather in this region, maybe severe weather like spring like in the north. We'll see what happens here, but you can see this is a couple days after the first day of spring, so certainly possible we could get a severe weather event as far north as Minnesota, Ohio, Michigan, and Canada potentially, and then the Northeast can get potentially some of those little bit of rainy nor'easters right there. And potentially more wind events could come into this region as well. So East Coast, you are getting all the activity it looks like, and it's not going to stop anytime soon, while the West Coast looks to be below to much below average here for precipitation as we go into that time frame. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and have a great night, everybody. Stay safe in those severe storms and have multiple ways of receiving alerts. Keep your cars and stuff in the garage so hail doesn't damage them tonight and tomorrow.